Nearly 170 severe weather reports came in yesterday, but that number is only going to go up as a significant severe weather outbreak is looking more and more likely, including strong tornadoes, giant hail, and damaging winds. I'll show you who's most likely to be affected, and we'll also take a look back at an event that happened 80 years ago that's likely still playing a role in your life today. We'll have that, your weekend forecast, a look at a new earthquake, and what's going on with the sun. Well, stay tuned to find out. This is Cold Rain's Weather World, where we've got all the weather, and it starts right now. Hey friends, and welcome into another action-packed edition of Cold Rain's Weather World, the hottest, fastest growing new weather show on the internet. My name is Jason Pritchard, your host, and I'm so excited that you are here with me today. We've got a lot of weather to get into, including a severe weather outbreak on deck, your weekend forecast, and we'll also take a look at things like earthquakes, volcanoes, and solar activity, because that's right, we've got all the weather right here. I've even got a special treat today. We're going to look back at an 80-year-old event that occurred on May the 15th in 1940 that is likely still playing a role in your life today. So we're going to look at all of that, but we always start by testing your weather IQ. And today's question is about the moon. How much do you know about your moon? Well, let's find out. Question is, how long does it take for the moon to complete one orbit around the Earth? That's a good question, actually. 7 days, 27.3 days, 365 days, or 14 days. Okay, so if you know the answer to that, go ahead and type it in the comments. If you don't know, all you have to do is wait till the end of the show, and I'll reveal the answer. And then you can reveal the answer to your friends and send them over to Cold Rain's Weather World so that they can become a little more weather-wise themselves. All right? So we'll get back to that answer here in just a little bit. So we're going to start off here with our satellite image because it shows us several things that we need to pay attention to, including that much of the nation is under the influence of cloud cover. Up here in the northeast, we're seeing the remnants of that system that is pulling out, that's been affecting the east for the last several days. Clouds and potentially some showers this afternoon will keep temperatures in check up here. Even see a little bit of fog in North Carolina and Virginia. That will burn off as the day goes along, but you can kind of tell it's fog because in the image, the high clouds move over and that just sort of sits there. That's how fog shows up on the satellite. We also have a subtropical jet that is active with our split flow, energy coming off the Pacific, just providing some high clouds, a few showers out there this morning, but nothing to be too worried about. This will influence the weather as we get on later into the weekend and provide a severe weather threat here in the lower plains. But the big story is this big low pressure system developing in the upper plains. And you can see all the clouds up here associated with that, including some thunderstorms that are already forming, showing up on the lightning display. That storm is going to continue to develop and push east, providing a severe weather threat in the Midwest and Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and Tennessee valleys over the next couple of days. And we're going to get into that, and we're going to show you just who's going to see what and when. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look real quick at the hazards map because it shows a few things to pay attention to, particularly in the upper plains where that system is developing. Strong gradient winds are going to be the theme up here, even outside of convection. And winds, where these little brown boxes are, these are wind advisories, high wind warnings in the gold area. But you're going to see winds gusting up here to 50, 60, even above 70 miles per hour on occasion, especially under these high wind warnings. So hold on to your hats up here. South Texas, man, not getting a break from the unrelenting heat. Corpus Christi, San Antonio, surrounding areas seeing heat advisories up. So take caution if you're there to limit your outside exposure and drink plenty of fluids. Look at this. Freer, Texas, 107, 105, 103, 102, 102. Not getting a break from the heat as far as the eye can see. This is too hot for Cold Rain. Cold Rain likes it cold. And for those of you that like hot, this is your kind of weather. But I suspect if you don't like the heat, then you can be thankful that this is not your forecast today. I certainly am. In the meantime, the surface map shows us today where our low pressure is developing here over North Dakota, out ahead of these systems. And we've taken a look at this the last couple of days. The mid-level winds, negative tilting trough, developing surface low, spreading out of the height lines, indicates big, broad lift aloft. I'm not going to show that today, but just know that's what's going on out here with southwesterly winds, southerly winds. We're seeing lots of rich moisture being pulled up here. Instability in spades over this area with broad lift is going to set the stage for a severe weather outbreak today and tomorrow as well. Even got a little severe weather threat over here in eastern Virginia. But general shower and thunderstorm activity over much of the northern and eastern sections of the country, even some snow in the higher elevations out in the west. High temperatures today, cooler out west under the influence of that trough with northerly winds, with the exception of the San Joaquin Valley and down here in the desert southwest, where temperatures are going to be in the 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s all the way up into the Canadian border for much of the eastern section of the country, with the exception of the northeast, where those clouds and showers will be around, and the exception of South Texas, where it's going to be super duper hot with temperatures getting into the hundreds out there. 80s and 90s everywhere else. Lows tonight dipping down into the 40s, even 30s and 20s up in the Rockies, but mild for the rest of the country. 40s and 50s in the central portion of the country up into the northeast, where the rest of the southeast is going to be 60s, 70s, and even close to 80 in some areas. Very mild and muggy as we get through the evening across the southeast tonight. So taking a look at the big headliner weather event for today, at least, is this big level 3 enhanced risk of severe weather from extending essentially from Minneapolis all the way to Fort Wayne, including most of Wisconsin, southwestern Michigan, northern Indiana, and northern Illinois. And a big slight risk surrounding that, slight risk over here in eastern North Carolina, eastern Virginia, and then a marginal risk around that. Tornadoes, yeah, we've got tornadoes to talk about, unfortunately, and some of those could be significant through central Wisconsin all the way down to Milwaukee and Chicago. And some of these areas are under the gun for significant tornadoes later today. This was a 5% yesterday. It's a 10% today. And that often happens as little elements within the pattern become better resolved as we come in closer to time, and we can see what areas are going to be most impacted by severe weather, and we can also see the severe weather threat a little bit better. So that's what's happening here. So tornadoes a possibility. Wind, a big 30% hatched in that a big 30% area, at least, of high winds possible in the enhanced risk area, with significant wind gusts over 70, 75 miles per hour here in Michigan and down into northern Indiana, including Fort Wayne. So watch out for strong winds there with thunderstorms that develop. And then hail is a big, big threat. We've got lots of instability in the hail growth zone, steep lapse rates. So we're going to see supercells develop, and where some of those supercells may remain discrete, they're going to produce even larger hail. So we can see 2, 3, even 4-inch size hail here, folks. So watch out anywhere in this hatched area from essentially eastern Minnesota all the way down here into the boot heel of Missouri. So watch out here, 30% chance maximized where we have the level 3 risk. But large hail is going to develop this afternoon. So what's driving all of this? And well, the answer is that lift that I showed you with that low pressure system developing in the plains. That's going to create broad lift, southerly winds at the surface, driving rich moisture up into the area. Heating of the day, we already saw the heating. That is going to create set the stage for strong instability. And look at this. 5494, that is just incredible instability. This is surface-based CAPE that I'm showing you, but in any event, it's going to be enough fuel for the fire, so to speak, to get these thunderstorms cooking, and cooking quickly, and cooking with fish grease this afternoon. These things are going to explode. We're going to see supercells develop, transitioning into line and clusters, particularly on the northern end of the severe weather threat area. So look at this CAPE. As we go through the evening, though, look what happens. It diminishes as we get on into the overnight hours, because the atmosphere cools and these thunderstorms eat this fuel up. Like your car uses gas, it eats it up. You got to go back to the gas station. The atmosphere has to go back to the gas station too. After the thunderstorms eat the fuel up, we need more southerly winds to pump in more moisture, and that's what's going to happen over the next several days. Looking at the potential for strong tornadoes, we see the significant tornado parameter. Now, this particular site overdoes these numbers, but what I want to show you is just look at the values here. So we've got strong values, and you'll see those strong values translate to the east as we go and put this map into motion here. So check this out. So look at that. They translate over to the east. We get into Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin as we go through the afternoon. So strong tornadoes are definitely a potential. So how does this all time out today? Looking at the simulated radar, we get into about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We start to see showers breaking out. They're going to turn into thunderstorms very, very quickly. We'll see little line segments develop eventually, and supercells, rotating thunderstorms in those lines will certainly cause extra damage and potentially produce tornadoes and hail. And down toward the south, we see semi-discrete little segments here. These are supercells, and if they remain discrete like this for a long time, as they mature, they're going to make use of all the spin in the atmosphere and potentially produce tornadoes, and we could see some giant hail fall out of these. So you can see that activity as we go on toward 7, 8 o'clock. That will extend onto the east, pushing across Lake Michigan into Michigan and eastern Indiana into Ohio. See a few thunderstorms down here as well. The model's not so excited as much about thunderstorms this far south, but I suspect we'll see more activity than what it's showing here. But that is how it looks, and then eventually all of that will move east and dissipate as we lose the heating of the day. So that is your severe weather threat for today and your Thursday forecast. Now we're going to take a look at the severe weather outbreak that looks likely tomorrow, as well as the threat that exists over the next few days, including your weekend forecast. But before we do, as I promised, I have something fun and interesting to share with you, and I'm going to do that now. So way back in 1940, 80 years ago today, Richard and Maurice opened a restaurant in San Bernardino, California. This original restaurant laid the foundation for what would become one of the most recognizable, largest, and successful fast food chains in world history. What is it? Let's take a look.
Can't just look at you go.
You're moving,
Sometimes you can't slow down.
you're rolling.
Big Mac and a Coke on the go.
McDonald's,
We know we won't slow you down.
you've been going strong all day.
Yeah,
You deserve a break today at McDonald's.
That's right, folks. Happy birthday, McDonald's, the most wildly successful hamburger fast food restaurant that exists, and one of the most recognizable brands out there. And one of the ways they built such a recognizable brand was by catering to children. The Happy Meal, Ronald McDonald, Grimace, and the Hamburglar and the gang, and certainly the Play Place, where you could take your kids, get a hamburger, and slide down into the big pit of balls that where everybody shared their germs. And I think they've got rid of all the ball pits, but they still have the Play Place in a lot of areas. And so certainly they did a good job doing that. Their fries, I've never cared for their hamburgers all that much, but their fries are certainly the best when you eat them hot. If you let them sit down for 30 seconds, unfortunately, they turn into a gremlin. And if you don't know about gremlins, then we need to have another conversation, folks, okay? So go check that out before you do anything else. But in any event, happy birthday, McDonald's. All right, we need to get on down the road, folks, and tomorrow, unfortunately, more of the same, just farther to the south and to the east. We've got another level 3 area of severe weather. This may potentially, some of this may actually be upgraded as we go through the night tonight and into the morning tomorrow. So pay attention, but serious situation shaping up here as well in through the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, from southeastern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, all the way up into Ohio, including Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Paducah, Louisville, Nashville, Union City, Bowling Green, places like that are really under the gun. Enhanced risk here, slight risk around that, marginal risk around that. Tornadoes certainly a possibility, a large area of hatched tornado possibilities for much of that enhanced area too. So we could see significant tornadoes, supercells. We're going to see eventually a couple of clusters and line segments develop through the course of Friday afternoon into Friday evening, and those may persist through Friday evening. So we could see severe weather occurring even into the night. So pay attention in these areas. Wind threat is certainly high as well, with significant wind gusts likely in a large area, this large hatched area here from up in southern Ohio all the way into West Virginia down through much of northern Tennessee. So really got to pay close attention tomorrow here, folks. Hail, again, another big threat of large hail for a great area even outside of the enhanced risk. So watch out tomorrow. Stay weather aware. Tune into your National Weather Service website and tune into your local news outlets. We'll certainly keep you posted here, and I'm sure other folks on Twitter and things like that are going to be posting wildly about this event, but I would expect potentially to see an upgrade for that tomorrow. As we also, one thing I want to show as well, this isn't showing up here, let me get it in a better display. There is a slight risk of excessive rain tomorrow. We're not looking at 6 inches of rain or anything like that, or shouldn't be, but a couple of rounds of these storms could lay down a 2 or 3 quick inches of rain. The soils are already saturated, so don't sleep on the excessive rainfall threat out in these areas as well. Okay, so pay attention to that as we get on out into Saturday. Yesterday we didn't have any sort of slight risk, and I speculated that we probably would see one, and we certainly do. Eastern North Carolina up to the DelMarVa region, and then back over eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and central Kentucky, central Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way back down toward Midland. So pay attention for severe weather on Saturday as well. As we go on out into Sunday, I told you earlier, the subtropical jet's getting involved. Going to send some energy in here into this lower plains, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, looking at severe weather possible on Sunday. As we get on out into Monday, again, that threat shifts slightly east, and then Tuesday, slightly east again to cover Missouri and Arkansas, and I suspect that we'll see additional severe weather threats as we go on out in time. Looking at the weekend outlook for the West, Thursday afternoon today, we're seeing that low pressure wind up here over the plains, so rainy and thunderstormy up there, mostly showers through the Rocky Mountains with some snow in the higher peaks as we get on into the afternoon today. Overnight hours into tomorrow, that low pressure persists, wraparound rain for North and South Dakota. Little systems coming into the northwest will keep Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana unsettled through the weekend. Saturdays, we get on into Saturday, seeing more and more of the same. We get a little bit more widespread activity in the Intermountain West out here. So Sunday's a washout potentially for some of these areas, and then we're seeing Sunday afternoon we're going to start to see severe weather potentially develop in Arkansas and over into Missouri. Hopefully we'll be clearing out Minnesota in that area by Sunday afternoon. And then in terms of the East Coast, or the eastern sections, let's roll this back so we can see the whole thing. This afternoon, we're seeing that low pressure develop over the plains as we talked about. Strong winds, heavy rain, thunderstorms breaking out, persisting through the evening hours tonight before dissipating a little bit. Tennessee, you're going to see that continue into the overnight hours. And then tomorrow afternoon, much of the same. Look at this big cluster line of thunderstorms is going to develop out here in the Tennessee Valley, while rainfall exists around this low pressure up here in the Midwest. A few showers up in the Northeast Friday night into Saturday morning as we get on in through this Friday night period into the overnight hours into Saturday morning. That low pressure shifts east into the lakes, sending thunderstorm activity over into the mid-Atlantic area as we get into Saturday afternoon. Showers up and down the front, potentially through portions of the southeast Saturday afternoon. And then Saturday evening into Sunday is going to clear out for much of these areas, leaving northern New England as we get on into Sunday morning, the beneficiary of some showers. Another little system dives out of the Midwest into the southeast, and we're going to see thunderstorms develop over the southeast, western sections of the southeast as we get on into Sunday. So that's your weekend forecast. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Looking here at the temperature map for this is for Friday. Much like today, very warm in the east, warming up in the northeast too, highs in the 80s, all the way down until you get to Texas where it's 90s and hundreds down there, chilly in the northwest as we go on out into Saturday. That map looks quite the same with the exception of a little bit of cooler weather across the north. As that low slides east, it's going to bring in cooler weather with it. So we'll see the north cool down into the 50s and then transition zone here of 70s to 80s into the south. And so that's your temperature forecast as we get through the weekend. Looking at the upper air pattern, this is indicative of a severe weather outbreak. When you see a negative tilted trough like this is Thursday morning here. We go through Thursday afternoon, look at that. That thing just sort of slides east And over the next couple of days, it's going to meander around through the Great Lakes region, bringing in instability and moisture and bringing all kinds of severe weather hazards to the eastern section of the country. A new trough dives in as we get out here into Sunday afternoon into the west. Again, we're going to see the same scenario where this thing migrates to the east slowly and brings a severe weather threat with it. And early next week, look at that, it just sort of migrates in there. So we're going to see severe weather in the cards for several days. And as we get way on out in time, look what happens. Models are starting to converge on this idea of a big ridge out west and a big trough in the east. So we're going to see heat go up out west and temperatures cool down in the east with chances of rain and unsettled weather as we close out May. And here is your 6 to 10 day outlook from the WPC. Cool across the north, warm across the south, below to normal in Alaska, above in Hawaii, precipitation much above in the signals are much above here in the east and below in the west, above in Hawaii and Alaska as well. So this is May the 24th or 20th through the 24th, so keep that in mind. Looking at the geological update, not a lot of change in our volcano situation, but we've seen a cluster of earthquakes over in the Italy, Greece, Turkey area. We saw a 5.0 this morning in Turkey, and don't know of any damage done there, but that was there. Look at all these little active spots in the U.S. where we've seen some small quakes. I don't think there's a lot going on with any of that in terms of ground damage to people's homes or anything like that, but pay attention. And then our sun is picking up. We've got a active sunspot region, produced a couple of X-class solar flares that is turning towards Earth here. So you can see it in this region here. All right, and then you've got this big coronal hole down here. So what is a coronal hole? We talked about this yesterday, but it's something that as it turns towards you, it can produce solar wind, and solar wind, if it's dense enough, can interact with the magnetic field of the Earth. So we're going to watch those two things as we go through the next few days, because these sunspots have a history of producing some fairly large solar flares, which can increase aurora. Okay, so we're going to watch that. And that brings us, unfortunately, sadly, to the end of our show, but we wrap up with our Weather IQ question. And if you remember what it was by now, it's how long does it take for the moon to complete one orbit around the sun? 7 days, 27.3 days, 365 days, or 14 days? And the answer today is B, 27.3 days, folks. That's how long it takes for the moon to orbit the Earth. Okay, now you know about the moon and the severe weather and the sun and everything else in between. I hope it's been a good day for you. Go out and get you a cheeseburger, a quarter pounder, Big Mac, filet of fish combo at McDonald's. You'll only have to spend $25 back in 1981. I think a combo might have been $2.99. How things have changed. Anyway, have a great day, folks. This is Cold Rain reminding you that if other stations run 24/7, we've got you covered right here, right now, 4814. Have a blessed day, folks.